Kaye face to face. About maybe 2 months ago, I got an email being our leader for Operation Christmas Child that went out to several churches. I don't know how many in the area that Kaye works with, and asking for volunteer churches to be collection sites. Not me. Sometimes it just clicks. The Lord just says, okay. And it was one of those moments. And I called Brother Paul. And I said, Brother Paul. Anyway, one thing led to another, and Brother Paul mentioned it to everyone at church, I think that night or that next night. And we felt like this would be an area that we were gifted that we could work in. We know how to pack boxes, don't we? About 900 of them. So anyway, we've emailed back and forth, and she agreed to come speak with us tonight and share what she does as an area coordinator in Savannah, and share with you all. We know a lot about Operation Christmas Child, but there's a lot more we need to know. So I want to introduce to you and make Kaye feel welcome, Kaye Wimberly.
Thank you for inviting me. I hope I can use the mic and the clicker both. That's like chewing gum and walking. So I don't know how successful I will be, but I will certainly try. Let me put these things aside. The first thing we're going to do tonight, though, and I just want to thank you for letting me come here. This is great. I love y'all's church. I talked to our pastor this morning as I was leaving church, and I said, now we'll be here tonight. I'm going to Elam Baptist Church. And he stopped me and he said, I've been there. That's a great church. And so that's Brother Earl Best. He's actually filling in for us. I don't know if y'all remember him, but we love Brother Earl. Because our pastor has retired, Brother Otis retired, and so we've had our search committee, and but we love Brother Earl so much, we wish he'd stay with us too. So anyway. The first thing I've got for y'all tonight is a video, and it is called Church to Church, and it's actually a new video that will be on the DVD that y'all will receive. Do you get those, Brenda? Those, I think, will be coming in, if not in August, then September, and this video is actually on there. So I'm going to get out of the way and let y'all watch this video real quick. If I can work this.
Gotta sing first.
Oh. That would be something that would clear out the whole church.
Make sure it's turned on. Make sure the buttons.
I did see.
All right, 2 clicks.
Before I turned it on. Okay.
And then right and left.
All right, here we go. We got it going now. We'll see.
Turn our mic up just a little bit, Dave.
Okay. That is one of my favorite videos. I actually used it. I went to a training for a church relations group, which that's part of our area team, the church relations. And I used that video with them because it speaks so much to what we do. Because if you walk away from here tonight and you don't remember anything else, I want you to know that Operation Christmas Child is about spreading the gospel to the corners of the world. That's what we're about. We are a project of Samaritan's Purse. Samaritan's Purse is an international relief organization, and everywhere they go, when they help people out, they go there to spread the gospel. So as their largest project, of course, that's what we do too. And we go from church to church. We start in local churches, and the local churches here, and this church is a part of that, because of the gifts and everything that you do, we are impacting churches on the other side of the world. I want you to know tonight that churches are being planted where no churches were before. They're going into places that they have not been able to get to before because of Operation Christmas Child, because of these little shoe boxes, and I left my shoe box back there. But what happens is they go into these places, and who's going to say, no, we don't want you to give our children gifts? They just don't do that. So it has opened the door, and one of the gentlemen on the video there said that it has been a key that has opened doors, and it has. And I'm just so excited that God has allowed me to be a part of this ministry. It is a wonderful ministry. So again, another thing that I love that it says on the video is that 100% of the shoeboxes packed impact the church on the other side of the world. And again, Operation Christmas Child is about sharing the gospel with others. And thank you so much for being a part of this ministry with us. I've given you a handout tonight. I'm actually not going to talk a lot about the handout, but the title of it is Children and Evangelism, and it gives you some facts and figures that you may not know about children and evangelism, and so you can take on and look at that tonight. But why children? Why do we try to reach out to children? Children are the most fruitful field for evangelism, and therefore we serve to take the most powerful truth, the gospel of Jesus Christ, to the most receptive hearts. And this is why we work with children. Jesus said, leave the children alone and don't try to keep them from coming to me, because the kingdom of heaven is made up of people just like this. Children are not shy about telling others about Christ. They just naturally tell people about the things that they know. And because of that, because they're unafraid to witness for Christ, once a child comes to know Christ, makes a profession of faith, then they become agents of God's mission to the world. They come to know Jesus as Savior, and then they start sharing that with others. They share it with their family, and they share it with their friends. So again, Operation Christmas Child uses the shoebox as a tool to open the door to share the gospel. I hope to be able to tell you some things that maybe you don't know about the ministry tonight. One of the things, I'm not sure if you know, when Operation Christmas Child first started, it actually started in Wales in 1990. A couple named Dave and Jill Cook watched a television program about children at that time war-torn Romania. They spotlighted orphanages there. They saw just the horrific conditions that these children lived in these overcrowded orphanages. And so they started a campaign in their local community to send Christmas gifts to these children. Well, it grew so quickly that they saw that they could no longer handle this. And so they partnered with Samaritan's Purse in 1993. So the first year that Samaritan's Purse took over the project of Operation Christmas Child, 28,000 boxes were collected that year. And I think actually that year they went to Bosnia to deliver those boxes. Last year in 2012, we celebrated our 20th anniversary, and we celebrated, I know y'all have heard this, 100 million boxes, and I'm here to tell you that tonight it actually wasn't 100 million boxes, it was 103.7 million boxes that have been collected over the past 20 years, collected and distributed. Now this is where that little handout I gave you comes in. It is key to what I'm telling you. If you'll just look at how many children under the age of 15 are in India, you will see that had we taken 103.7 million shoeboxes to India, we wouldn't have even made a dent in the number of children there. So there continues to be a need Also, we serve children from the ages 2 to 14, which means that every 12 years, we're serving a whole new group of children. So there's still a need for our shoe boxes. And I think I'm getting ahead of myself, but that's okay. But I do want to say that we realize that God has provided this ministry for us. He is the one who's made this ministry successful. Because when you stop and think about it, a shoebox, you're telling me you're going to put small gifts in a shoebox and you're going to distribute it. I mean, who could make something like that work but Almighty God? So again, there's still a need for shoeboxes. More shoeboxes equal more gospel opportunities, because for every shoebox that is distributed, a child is told about the good news of Jesus Christ. And I'll tell you some more about that later, that I just found out this year that I'm very excited about, because I always thought it was sort of a one-on-one ratio. Found out this year that's not true. And I'll save that for later, but if I forget, do remind me. Tonight I'm going to tell you about the journey of a shoebox. I'm not sure if everybody realizes exactly what happens to the shoeboxes, so we're going to go through that. So obviously the first thing we do is that somebody is going to take a shoebox and pack it with small gifts, and we always ask people to pray over that box. That's one thing. We want our ministry to be covered with prayer. And so we always ask people to pray over your shoe boxes. Excuse me. Operation Christmas Child provides a unique opportunity for individuals and families and churches and other organizations to touch children in other parts of the world for Christ. This ministry is just one way in which we as Christians can help fulfill the Great Commission. Every time you participate in Operation Christmas Child, you share the love of Christ with a child. And of course, the next thing that happens, once the boxes are made up, we've got to have some place to take them. We've got to have drop-off locations. And we call our drop-off locations relay centers, and that's what your church has graciously accepted that challenge to be a drop-off location for us. We find that many times people want to participate in the ministry, but once you pack your box, then what do I do with it? So ideally, what we would like to do is have a drop-off location within, say, 20 minutes of you. Now, that doesn't always happen, and our area team actually covers 14 counties. Our most northerly county is Scriven. We go down as far as Long County, and then over to the west, and I'm not from Georgia, so please forgive me if I mispronounce this, Trudland, is that right, where Southerton is? So that's our 14 county area. And so again, we try to get more and more drop-off locations just so that it's convenient for people to drop off their boxes. We intentionally have our drop-off locations at churches because, again, remember that video, church to church? We do this because we know that there are people who prepare boxes who just see it as a service project. And so that means there are people that prepare boxes that are, number one, unchurched, and number two, unsaved. So that is an outreach of that church into your local community. Somebody comes up to bring a shoebox. You ask them if, can I pray with you over your shoebox? You can say, well, you know, or if you don't recognize them, obviously, you know, you can ask them where their church home is. They may tell you they don't have a church home. We'd love to have you come here and worship with us. So what we hope to do is that those people who are unchurched, unsaved, that we can build relationships with them and share the gospel with them. And so that's why we intentionally have our drop-off locations at churches. After the relay center, the boxes go to collection centers. We actually have 2 collection centers within our 14-county area. Our oldest collection center, if you will, is in Savannah. It's on Al Henderson Boulevard, Savannah Christian Church. And then God has blessed us with another collection center, which is sort of halfway through our area at New Life Baptist Church in Meadow. And it's just right off the interstate there. So it's very easily accessed by everyone. And of course, I'm way behind, aren't I? I knew this would happen.
Oh, I messed you up, sweetie. I forgot to turn the sound off and I clicked on the screen and about the time you clicked, so it was my fault. My fault.
Like I said, I can't walk and chew bubble gum, so. Anyway, after the collection centers, our boxes are transported to processing centers. For the Savannah area team, everybody in Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, all those boxes go to the processing center in Atlanta. That's where our boxes go to. Has anybody here been to a processing center?
We have one of our church members who's been there a couple of times.
Okay. It is an absolutely great way to get a bigger picture of the ministry. You go in there, and they're huge warehouses, and they actually aren't in Atlanta, they're usually in Lawrenceville. And they rent these, actually, typically people donate. They don't have to pay the rent, it's actually donated, but they're huge warehouses. And you walk in and they're filled with shoe boxes, and I can't even describe it to you. So if you have an opportunity to go, please go. Public registration this year begins on September 16th, and it's always been a call-in on a toll-free number before. They're still going to have that. But probably beginning in August, they will start to promote, they've actually gone in and set up a website so that the registration this year will be online. It's supposed to be a little more streamlined, because if you tried to call in and you waited for hours and hours, I'm not going to tell you it's going to be perfect this year, but it is better than it was. So if you have an opportunity to go to the processing center, do go, because it is very special. So what happens at the processing center? This is actually the first time that the shoe boxes are open. When they're taken, collected at the relay centers, or they're taken in at the collection center, they're just taken in, the boxes are not open. But once they get to the processing center, the boxes are actually opened. Why do they open them? Well, they take out the financial contributions out of the box. And they also look through the box to make sure that there are no prohibited items. What items are prohibited? That's liquids can't go, chocolate can't go. Last year when I worked at the processing center, I opened one of the boxes and there were like one of those little mini Snickers bars, just a whole package of them. And of course they have to be taken out because, you know, we collect these things in November, and then they're delivered all through the year. So they're still delivering shoe boxes right now that we collected in 2012. In fact, I know a distribution just took place in the Philippines. So who wants a Snickers bar that has sat out in the heat, you know, for all these many months? It just doesn't work. So some other prohibited items would be like no guns, no toy guns, no little army figures, things like that. So they look through the boxes to make sure that there aren't any prohibited items. Now, what happens to the items that are taken out? Those are actually donated to local charities. Like if you were to put shampoo into your box, obviously a liquid item will not go because it can open and leak and make a big mess. So those items are taken out and actually go to charities within the Atlanta metropolitan area, so the things aren't wasted. I don't want you to think that. Also, we pray over the boxes again at the processing center. Once the boxes have been inspected, they're taped up, put back in the cartons. The cartons are actually loaded onto 18-wheelers that are there, and they will go on the next step of their journey, which in our case, they go right back to Savannah, because they go to the Savannah port. They're loaded into, well, they've been loaded into the carts are loaded into those containers at the processing center, and then they're shipped back. They're driven back to the Savannah port, and that's where they're shipped overseas. Then what happens, once they're distributed, or actually they make it to the countries, there are national leadership teams, and these are people who are Christian leaders and volunteers, and they become responsible for all the gifts as soon as they arrive in the country. And this includes prayer support, transportation out into the field for the distributions, also training of volunteers, and they are also responsible for the follow-up programs. Before the gifts are given to the children at a distribution, and by the way, a distribution will usually be about 250 children, is usually the size of a distribution. Before they are ever given the boxes, they are presented with the gospel in usually some creative fashion, a skit, songs, different things like this. They're presented with the gospel. And again, the distributions are structured around that local church there. Even though we have people that go on distributions from over here, we just go to help. It's actually the local pastors and the local churches that present the distribution and are in charge of it. And of course, they're trained by our folks through Samaritan's Purse. But the reason they do that is, again, an outreach for their church, because they want those children to come back and to go to church there. They want to have a continuing relationship with these children. Because again, many times the shoebox gifts are the first step into getting into an area that has been closed to the gospel. This last year, our conferences are always in April, and this year in April, our conference was in Orlando, and we got to meet a lot of these national leadership teams. And I've seen the numbers. I know that it appears to be successful, but I guess I was the doubting Thomas. I wanted to go to these people and talk with them, and I asked them, are the shoeboxes making a difference in your area? Time and time again, they said yes, they are making a difference. Please keep doing what you're doing. They're so thankful for what we're sending over there to them. So, and again, you are a part of that. You know, we think about our church and what we have here. We have Sunday school, and we have vacation Bible school, and we have children's camps. They don't have that over there. And so what has happened is that Sunday schools have been started over there because of this ministry. Churches have been planted. So it's just growing and growing, and it just has this ripple effect. And that's how God works. He doesn't work in that one-on-one ratio like I was talking about. He works in multiples, and which, you know, it just amazes me when you see everything that has been done. And one thing that we're going to talk about, and I wanted to remind you about, I said I thought it was a one-on-one ratio. This is the gospel booklet that the children are given when they receive their shoe boxes. It's sort of let's get to a page. It's like cartoons. It's children-friendly gospel stories are what's in here. It's in their language. This booklet is in about 75 languages now. What I found out this year that has amazed me so much is that we have found out this will pass between 2 to 4 other people. And so that it's not just that one child that you're touching and that receives the gospel of Jesus Christ. This is going into the hands of that child, plus siblings or parents are reading this to their children that cannot read. So you see how the gospel is being multiplied. Those seeds are being planted over there for Jesus. So that was something that really excited me when I learned about it. Also, when the kids get the booklets, and I've seen this happen from videos of distributions, they are just absolutely enthralled with these books because they've never seen anything like this before. Because we're talking about children that don't have anything to call their own. They've never received a gift. And when a friend of mine went to Uganda this year, and she said this one little boy, he had gotten his box, but he was so busy looking through the booklet that he was basically ignoring his box at that time. So that sort of takes you from the time that we put a box together and we send it out to the country. What happens after the distribution is that the children are invited to come back to another program, which is a discipleship program called The Greatest Journey. And this is divided into 3 different books. And I brought some of these tonight. The first one is called God's Greatest Gift. And so it tells the story of Jesus a little bit more in-depthly than The Greatest Gift does. So it's sort of the same thing, but more in depth. And again, these are sort of cartoon-like and culturally appropriate for the children in the different countries. The second section is called Walking with God. And these lessons share what it means to be a Christian. Altogether, between the 3 different sections, there are 12 lessons. Typically, the lessons are taught once a week. Most children are able to come to this. The younger children, which would be the 2 to 4 age group, since they're oral learners, they really aren't old enough to be able to partake in this, but the other children are. The last one is called Sharing God's Gifts, and it talks about how to share Christ with their families and friends. And so at the end of this book, they're asked to write down 9 names of people that they're praying for. One of the guys that was on the video earlier said they didn't have the resources for the children. Well, Samaritan's Purse goes in and trains teachers in that area to be able to teach the program, The Greatest Journey. But not only that, they also resource them by teaching those teachers how to teach and provide for children's lessons so that they can go on beyond the greatest journey and minister to those children. When the children graduate, after the 12 weeks, they're all given a certificate, and they're also given a New Testament in their own language. And so again, this is something that, we take for granted how many Bibles we have in our house. And I think I really came to face with this situation not long ago. A friend of mine grew up in Czechoslovakia. She received her first Bible when she was 33 years old, and she couldn't believe it was hers. In fact, she told the lady she went to give it back to her, and the lady said, "Oh no, it's yours to keep." She's been in America since like 1985. But you know that, we don't even realize how blessed we are in this country because we have so many Bibles. So they are given a New Testament of their very own. And of course, it's the passion of OCC that every child, we get to the point that every child can participate in the shoebox to the Bible journey. That's what our hope is. These are just some figures. And as you look over these, I'll go over some of them, I won't read them all. But one thing I want to remind you, these are some great numbers, and this comes from the Greatest Journey program. This does not include the 2012-2013 season. And what does that mean? That means the boxes that we collected in 2012 and that we're distributing right now aren't included in these numbers. So as you look at that, one thing that stuck out to me is 665,000 children have made professions of faith. Yeah, is that just really, I can't even believe that. Also up there it talks about that we've trained about 85,000 teachers for the to teach the Greatest Journey. In 2013, which that's obviously talking about this year, we're hoping that we have as many as 1.4 million children enrolled in the program. Our goal is by 2018 to have 5 million children. So, as far as the disparity between the number of boxes distributed and the Greatest Journey, that is because, number one, some countries are restricted and we can't take the Greatest Journey to them. Again, the younger children, the 2 to 4-year-olds that cannot read yet, would not be taught with the Greatest Journey at this time. The little booklet we have is in 75 languages. Right now the Greatest Journey is only in 64 languages. So we're working on that as well. So we're continuing to raise money so that we can have more of the books in all 75 languages and not just 64. And it's just a goal of ours to get more and more children to participate in the Greatest Journey. Therefore, my dear brothers, be steadfast, immovable, always excelling in the Lord's work, knowing that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. 1 Corinthians 15:58. You know, we don't fully know the impact of this ministry. And there's really no way to find out because record keeping over there in other countries can be very sketchy. And there's no way really to even know how many of the children, when they're presented with the gospel through just the greatest gift, we don't have records on that as to how many children may have accepted Christ. We've just now started keeping up with the records with the Greatest Journey. So this side of heaven, we're never going to know how many children have accepted Christ because of this ministry. My goal is to get to heaven and find out that number. But I do know that it's working, that through this program we are sharing the good news of Jesus Christ. And so, and to think it all begins with one box, one child, and one heart. And again, I thank you for being a part of this ministry. And so I wanted to just ask if anyone had any questions that they would like to ask about the ministry that I could answer for you.
Is this the only church in this county that's going to be collecting boxes?
Or is there other churches?
It's not the only church in the county. Yeah,
Because we've always
Goshen.
taken ours, since they opened, we've taken ours to them.
Will be down.
Yes.
Exactly.
Distributing.
Yes. Sylvania has a collection, not a collection center, a relay center that came on board last year. So until that time, Goshen United Methodist Church was as far north as we had a relay center. So we're just trying to, you know, again, grow the ministry. Another thing people usually ask, I get this question a lot, is why we don't do this in the United States. And it's my understanding that they have actually made a couple of distributions. Maybe, I know one was at, I don't know what year it took place, but some of the Indian reservations, they did a distribution. But it's because that basically we have a structure already in place to minister to our children that they just don't have in these third world countries. So that's one of the main reasons for that. I know a lady last year kind of got mad at me because I told her we didn't really do it in the United States, but that's fine. So is there any other questions that you can think of?
I don't have a question, but would you explain to everybody kind of what, that you would be willing to come train us? On what we
Yes,
need
that's,
to
I
do
told Brenda,
to collect?
a lot of times when a relay center a church first decides to be a relay center, that I will come. I mean, we always have training every year for our relay center coordinators, but a lot of times when relay centers first come on board, I always offer to come to the church and do the training for all the volunteers that will work at the relay center. And it's not, you know, an hour and a half maybe, it's not very long.
Okay, once we collect all these,
The boxes, right.
what, does y'all send a container here, we fill it?
No.
Pick it up?
Okay, what happens is that we will send you cartons to pack the shoe boxes in, and on the last day, you don't have to wait till the last day, but on the last day, which would be a Monday, this year National Collection Week runs from the 18th through, that's a Monday, and then we'll go through the next Monday, I think that's the 25th. And so on the last day, if you have enough room to store the shoe boxes here, the cartons that are the shoe boxes inside the cartons, then you would take those to one of the collection centers. And so I know like Goshen has, I don't know if it's a member of their church or somebody has a trailer and they load all the boxes or the cartons. And, oh, is it?
That's the trailer.
Yes. And so they load those up and take them to the collection center. And that's what I was talking to Brenda. Y'all have the choice of either going to Savannah or to Metter, because I think one is about as close to the other for y'all. And it doesn't matter to us. Yeah. And of course, if you're lucky enough, last year Statesboro First Baptist, which is a huge church, they were a relay center. They're not going to be a relay center this year, but they had a member who had an 18-wheeler and a trailer. That's how they took their boxes to the collection center. But that's unusual. That's very unusual, okay? But at our church, we're a relay center, and we have two men with pickup trucks. And they put them on the back of their pickup trucks, and that's how we take them. Now, when I was, actually before I moved to Savannah, I was on a member of an area team in Louisiana, Northwest Louisiana, and our church was a relay center. We didn't have, it's not that we didn't have enough room to store the boxes, it's that getting the boxes to the collection center, we didn't have big equipment to use. We used our church van. And so we went up there on Wednesday and took the first load, and then the last day, which is a Monday, we took the last load. So that's how we handled it. And I mean, you can go to the collection center as many times as you want to, but again, you can get a lot of boxes of those cartons onto a pickup truck.
If you wanted to go to Atlanta and help, is there a certain time period to do that, and that only in Atlanta? Say if a group of us wanted to go, is it just a one-day thing? Would it be a couple of days?
They're usually open, they usually process boxes within, they start on the Friday after Thanksgiving, and they will process until they finish. it takes them between 2.5 to 3 weeks to finish. And they're open every day except Sunday. And they start at, I believe, 9 o'clock in the morning, and they work, I think it's a 12-hour day. And of course, the shifts are like, you can do a 3-hour shift, you can do a 4-hour shift, or a 5-hour shift.
Now, is that all, what if you want to say, I'm just using for instance things, a couple of days to work and do that?
Yes.
Is there places that people can volunteer to do that and go stay at? Or do you have to get a hotel room?
You have to get a hotel room, and what they do is they contact all the hotel rooms and get rooms at a cheaper rate, is what they do. So, like, sometimes people will go and take a night shift or an evening shift. They'll spend the night and then do a morning shift and then drive home. Or they will go up there, and it makes for a long day, but they go and they will work a 4-hour shift, and then they will drive home that night. So it's just all in what you want to do. There are 8 processing centers throughout the United States. The closest ones to us are Atlanta, and there's one in Boone, North Carolina. There's also one in Charlotte, North Carolina. Those would be the closest to us. And last year there were actually 7. This year Dallas, Texas has come online, which sort of helps those folks over here, because all those people from Louisiana now are trying to come to Atlanta. They're going to Dallas, which is a lot closer for them. If you don't have any other questions, let me leave you with these thoughts. You know, the things that we need the most, number one, is prayer. We like our ministry to be covered in prayer. We're always looking for more churches to participate, and we're always looking for more people to volunteer in the ministry. There are short-term volunteers, and that would be the people that work at the processing center and help in the relay centers. Actually, I am a year-round volunteer. I do this all year long. And so we have a team that actually works all year long, and there are plenty of openings on the team. If the Lord has put in your heart a love for this ministry and a love that you want to do more, I'd be glad to talk to you about it. We have people that work in church relations. They go to churches, they support the churches that participate, and they engage other churches to participate. The same thing in community relations. Those people work with our Boy Scouts, they work with Lions Clubs, Christian athletes, things like that, all your non-secular, all your secular organizations. We have a prayer team, and they pray over the ministry, and they ask other people to pray over the ministry. We also have a media team, and I won't go into that. I mean, obviously you know what that is. And then we have our logistics network, which this church will now be a part of. So again, if you think you might be interested in working year-round, I'd love to talk to you, because we need more and more people. Thank you again for allowing me to come up here and talk to you. I thank God for the opportunity to go and talk to people about Operation Christmas Child. I thank God for giving me a position to work within this ministry. It's been a blessing to my life. I'll end with this. When I was 11 years old, I told my aunt, who was a minister's wife, that I wanted to be a missionary, but I didn't want to go overseas to be a missionary. Who knew but God that I would end up working in an organization and serving sort of a quasi-missionary position, but yet I don't have to go overseas. So thank you again.